Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this iPhone 7. So we're going to need a pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. We'll also need a Y000 or tri-wing 0.6, and then we'll also need a PH0 or JAS0 screwdriver. I like to also use a thin pry tool and then a little needle that I kind of bent the tip on. So anyways, first thing we're going to do, of course, make sure the phone is off. And then we're going to remove the two screws at the bottom. The screws on here are the pentalobe 0.6 or 0.8 or P2 screws. So just remove the two. You want to keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and length. If you mix them up, you can damage your phone. All right, so we're going to get those two screws out. All right, once we get those two screws out, we're going to pry the screen up. I like to use, again, this thin metal pry tool. Some people use suction cups or whatever. But anyways, what I do is I get between the metal housing and the plastic frame of the screen. And then what I get in there and then pry it up slightly. Then we're going to go along the side here and then cut the adhesive. This screen, someone had it replaced before, so there's actually, seems like no adhesive here. All right, so we're going to go along the other side, and then what I like to do is I kind of like to twist a little to pry it up. You want to be careful because there are cables connected on the side here, so when you actually go to pry this up, there might be a little adhesive because it's not popping out right away. So let me actually show you here the connectors I'm talking about. So this is, I don't know why, but it's getting stuck here. And it's getting stuck on the most dangerous part because that's where the cables are. So we gotta be careful. Go ahead and keep trying to pry this up. I don't know what's holding it in on the side here. I'm gonna kind of wiggle it around as I kind of pull up on it. That's really strange. It's stuck in there really good. So they must have gotten some adhesive between the screen and the frame or something, because this isn't coming up. Let's see if I can see from this side. I don't see anything in there, so I don't know what's holding it down, but I have to be careful because I can't just yank it out. There we go. I see. The screw, I think, is loose or coming out or something, so let me get that. So this screw was coming out and it was getting caught. All right, so as you can see here, there's the cable connectors right there, so you want to be careful when opening this. Once you get this open, there's some adhesive at the top as well. You might have to slide the tool around there to cut it, and then we're going to pull the screen slightly down and then open it like a book, like this. So you can see, yep, they definitely had this replaced before. Okay, so first thing we're going to do now, once we got it open, we're going to switch to the tri-wing or the Y000 screwdriver. All right, so we're going to open this up and we're going to remove all the screws in here. Let me actually zoom in to make this a little bit easier to see. Okay, and we're just going to remove all these. Again, you want to keep all these screws in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. If you mix them up, you can damage your phone, so it's very important. Don't mix all these screws up. Again, this is a phone that they already had the screen replaced on by someone else. So whoever worked on this before, I don't know if they got screws mixed up. Sometimes the other people won't reassemble the phones right because they just throw all the screws in a little container or something. So yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and remove this metal plate. So get underneath and lift that up. All right, and now what we're going to do is we're going to disconnect the battery connector right here. So this one here. Flip that up, there you go. Once you get that, you want to press and hold the power button for 15 seconds to drain any residual power in the phone. That way, if you go to remove the screen cables or anything, there's a lot less risk that you're going to damage your phone. All right, so we'll hold this a few more seconds. There we go. Let's go ahead and open it up. And now we can go ahead and disconnect the screen cables here. So there's one there. All right, and then there's another one down here. There we go. So we got those two connectors out. Now we're going to remove the two screws up here. Again, you want to double check because I don't know, since somebody else worked on this, the screws might be wrong, but we're going to switch to the PH0 or JAS0. I don't memorize all the different types of screws that they use off the top of my head. So if it doesn't look like it'll work, don't use it. Make sure to use the right screwdriver. All right. So we're going to get those 2 screws out. Then we're going to move this metal plate out of the way. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and pop up the connector here. This is for the camera sensors and everything in the top. All right, now that we got all that out, we can pull the screen out. We'll set that aside. Let me see if there's other loose screws in here. Oh, there's like 2 loose screws just fell out. So yeah, whoever worked on this before, I don't know if they didn't tighten it well or what, but the screws all just fell out, and they're all tri-wing screws. So those are probably all from the side here. Yep, all 3 screws from the side here are gone, and all 3 screws on this side are fine. So whoever did this, they lost those 3 screws, or they got them, maybe they got them mixed up. I think one is actually slightly longer. All right, anyways, we might not have to remove this metal plate. We're gonna check the replacement screen and see if the replacement screen has that metal plate on it, then we shouldn't need to remove that. All right, so let's check the replacement screen. Oops. Not this one. All right, let me actually, I got the wrong screen. Let's get this one. Okay, so yes, the replacement screen does have the metal plate on it, so we don't need to transfer that over. Let's go ahead and start removing the fingerprint sensor from here. So to do that, I like to keep my finger on the back here when I remove the fingerprint one, but first we're going to remove the screws all along the side using the Y000. Okay, so we're going to remove this one. We're going to remove the one over to the side. We're skipping the one that's holding the button in place. We'll do that one last. All right. Okay, now that we got those 3 out, let's go ahead and keep our finger underneath the home button there, and then we're going to undo that screw. All right, now we can remove this metal plate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove this connector. So this connector, it doesn't hold itself down. So what you have to do is you need one to hold this down. I use my fingernail on one side. Oh, that's going to be hard to see. Okay, there you go. So I use one fingernail to hold it down and then the other to pop up the other one. All right, so there's 2 layers. So hold it down with one and then pop it up with the other. And there we go. Oops, sorry. There we go. All right, and then we're going to use a needle to get underneath here. It might help to use some heat, so I'm actually going to use a little heat from the heater just to make it easier to remove. So let's go ahead and turn the heater on, and we're just going to heat this up here. It helps to kind of heat from the cable side because the screen is going to absorb all the heat, and this one, there's the screen protector preventing all the glass shards from falling out, so we're going to heat from the connector side. You don't want to heat it too hot. If you have your hand there, you can feel how hot it's getting. And then you just want to make sure it's not going to melt anything. So it's already getting pretty hot. Okay. And these connectors can be a little bit tricky to remove. So this metal plate actually has that other connector built in, and the screen will come with that. Or actually the connector there is part of the screen, it's not actually part of the metal plate, so if I remember correctly. Alright, hopefully it's warm enough now, and let's go ahead and use the needle and get underneath. I like to go underneath this part where it has the little plastic raised under. And then once you can get underneath that, then you can go ahead and get underneath the entire thing. So as you can see, I'm pushing the needle under, just like this, and getting that out of the way. All right, so once you get all the adhesive up, you can actually pull this connector up over the other piece, and then we're gonna push the home button through here, just like that. So here you can see this part stays part of there, and here we got the home button. You want to be very careful with this, because if you damage the home button, you won't be able to get Touch ID back. There are aftermarket buttons that will bring back the home button capability, but the Touch ID will never work again. Alright, we're going to switch now to the PH0 or JS0 and remove all the screws holding this up here. Alright, depending on your replacement screen, it might be missing the one screw over here, so you might want to actually transfer that as well. So let's actually remove that one screw and transfer it over first. Okay. There we go. Alright, now let's go ahead and remove the rest. Just like this. If you have to remove the metal plate, there is an adhesive underneath. I'll actually talk about it in a bit, but let me finish getting this out, which will be a little tricky to remove, so you'll have to keep that in mind. Alright, so we got all those screws out. Let's go ahead and lift the metal plate. You want to be careful with the camera sensor there. I'm going to lift the camera sensor out of the way and then get the speaker out. Alright, now we're going to have to get this out, which requires a little heat. The adhesive I'm talking about with the metal thing is under here. It's holding this cable in place. So if you have to remove that, keep that in mind. You are going to have to peel that adhesive out. Alright, so we're going to use the heater again. And we're going to heat up the top here to remove this stuff. Alright. So let's heat this up. I'm going to use a needle to try and get these sensors out of here at the top. Okay, you want to be gentle with this. Because someone already removed this, it's a little bit easier, but sometimes there's some glue that's holding it that makes it harder to remove. But there you go, it comes out like that. Okay, I'm going to keep heating this up a little bit more. Keeping my thumb here so that way when it gets hot enough I'll know, because my thumb will start burning. Oh, there you go, you can see. There's my thumb. Once my thumb gets too hot, then it should be good enough to peel it up. Still not hot enough. Okay, and this kind of thing, if you don't have a little heater, you can actually leave it in direct sunlight, and the sunlight should heat up this to make it warm enough where you can peel it out. It works a lot better if the screen is black, of course, and it has to be kind of a somewhat warm, hot day. But yep, alright, hopefully that's enough heat. Let's go ahead and peel this out. So when I peel this out, I like to start at these little gold contacts for the speaker. So I get underneath there, and then we work the needle over sideways, like that. And then there we go. So now we got this whole piece up. Alright, and then we have to work our way underneath the microphone here. So I lift that up. A lot of times it lifts up this whole ear speaker thing, but if you can get between the microphones separately, you want to actually try and peel that out. You can actually lift up the whole rubber piece, and then you can separate it afterwards outside of the phone screen assembly. But yeah, I like to try and do it while it's still attached to the rest. So just like this. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Slowly working our way over and peeling that adhesive away. Alright, should be good. And there we go. So that's what the back of the sensors look like. We got the adhesive out from under there. And now we'll set that aside. Okay, so the old screen, we can toss it or whatever. Alright, so now we're going to put the sensors into the new one. If you have the adhesive protection, you want to peel that off and then go ahead and stick this down. Use the little 2 plastic raised mounts there to align the gold dots. And that's how you get the whole speaker assembly lined up. Okay, and then stick it down. Stick down the microphone as well, and then make sure to get these sensors in. The sensors are somewhat like folded over, so keep that in mind. There's some junk there. I'm going to try and clean that up. Okay, and then get these sensors in, get them all lined up, and push them into place. If it's not sitting completely flat, you want to keep working at it till you get it right, because if it's sticking up, then you can actually damage it. So make sure this goes in properly. It's not wanting to sit flat. Okay, so the left sensor's okay. This one is being a little bit of a pain. There we go. So now it's completely flat in place. We're going to now get the speaker. Make sure the gold springs are facing down to go over those little gold contact points. All right, get that in there, line it up, get the camera sensor in, then get the metal bracket and put that over the top. All right, get the screwdriver and put back the screws. So we're going to loosely fit the screws first just to make sure all of them are lined up and going in the right place. All right. And we're going to go across the bottom and do the same. Once you get the last screw in, you can go ahead and tighten everything down. Okay. All right. Let's tighten it into place, just like that. All right, and now we got the camera and sensors all in place. All right, next thing we're going to do is get the home button in. So it's easiest to kind of work on it upside down like this. So we're going to thread the home button cable through here. All right, and then hold this part out of the way so that this can go underneath. All right, you want to be very careful with this. All right, make sure it's all lined up and smooth. You want to feel over here, make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, then we're going to hold this over. A lot of times you have to push the connector up towards the screen when you go ahead and flip this over, and then click that into place. Make sure the connectors are attached. Looks good. All right, now we're going to get this metal bracket and put that on. We're going to use the Y000 first. All right, and just like before, we're going to actually do the outside screws. This is to make sure everything is lined up. So you don't want to do the home button screw yet. All right. Now that we got all those in, we're going to tighten the screws down. There we go. And then for the last screw, again, like before, you want to keep pressure underneath the home button with your finger. So put one finger under the home button, hold that up, and then go ahead and tighten that down. That prevents you from accidentally punching the home button through the screen. All right, so there we go. We got the screen assembled. Let's go ahead and reconnect it into the phone. So I like to reconnect this cable first just because it requires a weird position. This thing's dusty inside, so I'm going to clean it out actually, if I can. Okay. Whoever worked on this before, they kind of left some of the adhesive in here. Usually you kind of want to scrape out as much as you can, because if you leave it, it creates an uneven surface, and that can make the screen actually break a little easier. So I'll try and remove what I can. All right. But because they left it, now it's all turned all weird, gunky. So I don't know, we'll see what we can remove. I'll use a paper towel and we'll try and just wipe it down to get all that adhesive out. All right, got most of it out. Okay, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better. There we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and reconnect the little cable up there. Might have to do it at a weird angle for the screen. Oh, there's some junk in there. Okay. So we're gonna do it kind of at a weird angle like this. Make sure you get it lined up before pressing it into place. Can be a little tricky. Let's see. This connector is kind of the most annoying one to do. I'm going to try with this little thing. Here we go. Get it lined up. Push that in. Make sure it's pushed down all the way. And you want to be careful because you don't want to end up ripping that cable. All right. Let's go ahead and get these connectors in. A little difficult to line up. Let's see if I can see better from the side here. These ones, no matter how many times you do it, it's always still tricky. There we go. Get that in. And get that in. All right, now that we got all of that in, we'll reconnect the battery. Excuse me, and then we'll power it up, make sure the screen comes on. There we go, looks good. All right, now let's go ahead and put the metal plate back on and reassemble everything. Okay, looks good. Get this metal plate back in here. All right, and then we're gonna get these screws. Oh, we have to switch back to the PH0 or JS0 screwdriver. All right, and get that screw in. All right, second screw, and the screen came up, so it looks like we're good to go. After you do this, you do want to test the front-facing camera. You want to make a phone call and make sure the ear speaker is working. Also make sure when you cover the screen while in a phone call, the screen should go black, or when you cover the sensors up here. But other than that, that's all there is to it. Let's go ahead and finish putting back all these screws. There's a little trick when putting back in the screen, so I'll show you that in a bit, but let's go ahead and get all these screws. If this video helped you, again, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel with others so that they can also learn how to repair or upgrade their devices. If this video helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel so that I can continue making these videos for a living. But yeah, we're almost done with this. I'm just loosely fitting the screws again, just to make sure everything's lined up, and then after that we'll tighten everything down. Okay, so let's go ahead and tighten this all down. All right, everything's good. Let's go ahead now and get the screen into place. So when you do this, you want to actually lift the bottom here slightly. Actually, let me zoom out a bit. So you lift the bottom here slightly and then pull the screen slightly down and then slide it up to get this locked into place. Once you get that locked into place, you want to actually hold the middle up slightly so that you can get the bottom half in. And then once you get it all lined up, then you can go ahead and push the clips down. And there we go. All right, so now we're good to go. Let's go ahead and put back the remaining 2 screws, the sorry, not the the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws. All right. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, let's get the last screw in. All right, let's drop this spike.